Good evening. Welcome to the Dugout. It's a fine summer evening day here in Delhi NCR. Pretty humid but cloudy. And there are some uncertain clouds hanging over the Indian team as well. I'm not really referring to what happened in that first test match. It was a close test match. One team had to win, one had to lose. We've already dissected as to the mistakes that India made. But what we're going to be looking at, and why do I say that there are clouds hanging over the Indian team, is in the big news that's coming in, which we had kind of touched upon yesterday, but now it's looking almost certain. Something that seemed a possibility yesterday in our dugout we had mentioned, but now is seeming certain, more and more certain, if not 100%, is that Jasprit Bumrah, who we assumed will play 1, 2 and 4, test match number 1, 2 and 4, there's a good possibility he does not play test match number 2, owing to his fitness, and we saw glimpses of that in the first test match only. We'll get to that a little later. That's the big news that we'll be discussing, and how much of a blow it's going to be for India. It was already 1-0 down. And the second bit is, if it couldn't get worse for India, it's getting better for England, the team that's already 1-0 up. A certain Jofra Archer, who was seen playing county cricket, is getting into the rhythm, was there in the IPL as well, is now getting ready for red ball cricket, and he has been included in the squad for the second test match. Not the 11, right? It's the squad. But now that he's in the squad, there's a good possibility that the reason they've got him in the squad is that he makes the 11. So one clutch, important fast bowler for India almost going out. One clutch, important fast bowler for England coming in. So that's the scenario, and that is what we're going to be discussing in the dugout today. But as is the norm, we also take a look at all things that are happening in the world of cricket, and because our focus is India-England, what else is happening?
Well, firstly, before I come to that, I potentially not be 1-2 ka 4 for Bumrah. Yes,
no,
1-2 ka 4.
4-2 ka 1.
Yes, but our
Aisa na ho from 4 test match to 2-1 only he goes.
It might not happen. But then yes, our India head coach is under the scanner, Gautam Gambhir. Because Gautam Gambhir in the press conference, when asked about Rishabh Pant's twin tons, he had scored twin tons, Rishabh Pant, but then one reporter asked the positives in that Rishabh Pant's twin tons and all the other things. Gambhir cut him short and then saying, there were 3 other tons. So I only wish the question was framed better. And for that kind of a response that Gautam Gambhir gave, he's been panned on social media. Either it's of arrogance or like, why did he get so agitated? Milestone obsession, is it going too far for Gautam Gambhir? That, okay, we'll not acknowledge a milestone. But
here's the exact quote.
Yeah, I mean, there are 3 more centuries as well. Those are big positives too. Thank you. I would have liked it if you had said that 100 from Yashasvi, 100 from Shubman on debut as captain, 100 from KL and 2 centuries from Rishabh. So yeah, 5 centuries in a test match. It's a great start. Hopefully the question could have been better.
Oh.
Now, look, if I am if I say like I'm in that particular situation, I only want a punt angle. Then why would Gautam Gambhir blast me saying that, okay, there are other positives, I know that, but I only want a Rishabh Pant angle. Why getting so agitated over that? I thought that was going way overboard, Gautam Gambhir. Could have said, okay, any other question? I said, yes, then after the positives of the others. But I only want a punt angle. That's my question. That's what I've been given the brief for. Why do you then have to go after me? Mujhe kyun toda beech mein? That's how the thing it is. So
You think
it's overboard? I think it went overboard.
Unneeded. Again, the journalist was not offending the Indian coach in any way, or wasn't showing any signs of going down that road. It was well within his rights to go ahead and ask whatever that he saw was worth filing a report on, or was whatever was whatever suited his story that he had in mind. So he was just asking a harmless question, and it can't be like if I want to talk about if there's a Jasprit Bumrah who's taken a 5 for, that doesn't mean if there's a supporting act, let's say in a supporting act, I see Arshdeep Singh picked 3 wickets, and those 3 wickets, let's say, were the bigger wickets in a Stokes, in a Pope, in a Root. If those are 3 wickets, and I wanted to ask a question on Arshdeep Singh, would I be then told, no, you ask about Jasprit Bumrah, you mentioned about Jasprit Bumrah 5 for? No, I want to file a story about how Arshdeep Singh's a clutch player of equal measure, and this is where perhaps the game turned. So I will ask a question on those lines only. I will not ask about 10 other things happening in the field. So I just felt that this was not needed at all.
I mean, the journalist in question spoke about it. I saw it on social media. Shubhayan was the journalist. He mentioned that actually my question was not just about Rishabh Pant getting hundreds, but what I really wanted to ask going forward was that what about his workload, because he's also batted 2 innings and he also keeps, and he was getting hit also, if you remember, with the bowler,
Sujat,
and he mentioned that. So my question was going to be on the workload, which I thought was a valid question, but the journalist in question says that I was stopped before I could reach the valid question. I also agree with you that there's no harm, and even if there are multiple centurions, as it happens in a press conference. For example, let me give you an example of a team selection press conference. Okay, there may be 3 or 4 major omissions that may happen, but if I get a chance to ask question, I'm not going to ask about why was Siraj not picked, why was Mukesh Kumar not picked, why was Sarfaraz not picked. I can't ask also. My question will always be specific. I may just ask about Mohammad Siraj, that listen, he was your leading bowler for this. How come suddenly he's gone out of plan? And it's obviously upon the person that I've asked to answer that. And if somebody wants to ask about Sarfaraz or Prasid or whoever else, they'll ask. And that's how usually press conference happens. So I think the journalist did no wrong. I think it was a bit misplaced that stopping the journalist and saying, there are other centurions and why are you just focusing on that, and I want to get to the crux of why that may have happened, but the chatter on social media is that was there something personal, was it just the question about Pant that irked the coach? What do you think could be the reason, or it could have been anybody and this is the reaction that would have come?
Maybe he's trying to hide his frustration of India's loss in the aftermath of Leeds, because directly I can't show it. Maybe through some question which could serve as a legitimate trigger, I will take on that question and I'll.
But it wasn't even that question, na Siddharth?
But then
did it look like that question? No,
it didn't look at all. But then he chose his moment, maybe to vent out my frustration of the loss. I mean, nobody would like to be in a very good mood after you couldn't defend 371. If I pan the bowlers, it'll be too harsh. If I pan the batters, it'll be too harsh. So I take the middle ground. I choose the part, okay. I focus on a particular milestone. I got you. Okay. I'll target you on that.
No, why I said was because there are also other things that on social media, somebody pointing out that they've had some sort of friction in their relationship for a long time, because there was this video that I saw on social media where they showed Ajay Jadeja who mentioned the story about Pant, that when he was coach, he was keen on playing him, but he talks about the captain not being very keen on playing him, and then Pant says later, jab zarurat hogi to ghar se bula lenge. I don't know whether there is.
I have not had many takers for that story, honestly. Will that exist? It was in a different era altogether. I mean, I would say a couple of years is a different era, because you're now in a transition phase.
This goes 5-7 years back, even more.
Sure, but it's a different era altogether. So
but
that is
you hold on to these things. At times, I'm not saying necessarily in this case.
I really don't know, because see, if
so, what would be the issue with that question? One, you said maybe it was the anger of the loss. Maybe
that is the only thing. Looking at the context and not specializing in anything, I'm looking at a very tangible thing. You've lost at Leeds on the very last day. Until 4 days, you were dominating. You lost on the last day, and Gambhir's frustration also might be boiling from that. Okay, I've lost 3-0 at home. I've lost 3-1 in the BGT. I've now lost 7 out of the last 9 test matches that have been played. So somewhere down the line, you know how blunt Gambhir is. You know how blunt he is when it comes to certain things, on milestones and everything. Celebrations, we all know how he is. I would say that.
Victory parades he doesn't want.
Yeah, he doesn't want victory parades and all that. So, this is just one particular point when he chose, okay, milestones. I've been consistently saying, no, I'm not obsessed with milestones. I pick on you for that. Which is also wrong in that sense. I mean, you didn't allow the reporter to fully ask the question and you didn't understand the context of it also. See, this is the problem with Indian cricket and everybody who's been brought up on this for the past 13, 14 years. There is this brick wall that is there between players and certain...
I named it the other day. Wall of opacity.
Wall of opacity. So, we are all seeing the negative side effects of it. It continues to happen even now in the modern era. This
Any
wall of
thoughts
opacity.
why?
Don't have a plausible explanation.
See, I mean, I to the theory about was it specific to one player, I don't know of anything like that, and whether that there is some sort of friction or it was just that name of that one player that eventually got that sort of emotion to come out. But I'm just looking back at past precedent, and I think that's where the benefit of the doubt to Gautam Gambhir should go, whether you like it or not. He's always been a player who does not like individual glorification. He's always stuck by that. He's maintained that even during his playing days, even when he's coaching. Maybe I think that was the point that really didn't go down well with him. What I like is that he's been consistent with that. Whether you agree with him or not is another thing. Whether you agree with him in his previous quotes or not, where he's mentioned, is another thing. That's that. In fact, he has been quite critical of himself as well whenever he's been looked at as an individual performer. He said, no, don't give me the credit, and you need to look at it like team. And as I said, you can view it in any form that you want, but my interaction with him has been, and I think that's where I give Gautam credit, is that he's, again, that's a quality. I look at it as a quality, that he's never shy of really speaking his mind off. There will be a lot of times that players, administrators, whatever, I ask them about somebody in private, they have a completely different opinion and not a high opinion. As soon as you ask them on camera, they come up with a sugar-coated version of the opinion. But what I love about Gautam, and I've interacted with him for many years since he was a player, I was there when he made his debut from that match itself, is that he has never been double-faced. As in, what he tells you off camera, he will tell you on camera. In fact, I must also share with you, there have been times where I may have interviewed him and I've and I've kind of forewarned him before an interview that, listen, I'm going to touch upon this subject. I did because I didn't want an awkward situation for him. And he said, yeah, absolutely fine. And I only forewarned him so that he could think of a more diplomatic answer to come. And then he said, no, why should I come up with a diplomatic answer? I will say what I feel like. I will not shy away from what I feel like. And that has also landed him in trouble a lot of time. But what I like about him is that he's been consistent. So what I see through that is honesty. As I said, I'm not saying you need to agree with his opinion, you have to agree with him on his cricketing logic or whatever. You can absolutely disagree. In fact, a lot of time we agree or disagree with decisions that he might take, and that's another thing. All I'm saying is that he is never diplomatic. He says it as it is. You can agree, you can disagree, but you're not seeing a unauthentic version of him, and I think that's exactly what came out. I thought his objection was largely about not just focus on one player, everyone else did it. And if you take a look at that entire press conference, he actually did not pinpoint blame on a lot of people. He tried to defend everyone, whether it was the fielder, whether it was the captain. He defended the captain in terms of decision, saying that it's okay, instincts are there. Sometimes captain feels maybe I'll go with a spinner more than that. That's why he underbowled Shardul or whatever. So overall, I think that's the mindset that he had, and he probably looked at the entire team. And again, he came out on a day where India had lost instead of sending a player, so maybe he wanted to take everything head on himself. And I think it was an extension of that happened, rather than any sort of personal animosity is how I read that situation. I could be wrong, I don't know. But
it's true. I mean, see, Gambhir is known for being frank and blunt.
Yeah.
Okay. But we have seen with people in the past also how a negative perception is built around people who are frank and blunt. I mean, Bishan Singh Bedi, he was frank and he was anti-establishment, but we know his history, how he changed Indian cricket.
Very forthcoming. Yeah.
Very forthright also. We have seen with Dada to a certain extent, Saurav Ganguly, very blunt on your face. A Greg Chappell, blunt in your face. We have had this luxury of too many yes men. in the system of Indian cricket. Now you've got Gambhir, who's like going to say, my rules, I'll be blunt. Mistakes, I will take it head on. Success, I will take it head on. I think somewhere down the line there will be a collision course and he will face a lot of trolling and abuse in the...
That's fine. I don't think it bothers him in any which way. And that's what we've seen. We've seen three facets of Gautam Gambhir. We've seen Gautam Gambhir the player. We've seen Gautam Gambhir the politician. Yes. We've seen Gautam Gambhir the coach now. Yep. One thing that's remained consistent is the fact that he doesn't shy away that ways. He's ready to call a spade a spade. He is ready to, as Nikhil says, even as a politician for that matter, whatever it was, he would always call things as they were, admit things when there were shortcomings, and also be very, very accepting at times. So that's the personality he's been. He was always a curt guy. Just that with curt people at times you
misunderstood the most.
You misunderstand.
Probably that's why he left politics, because in politics you have to be diplomatic, and I don't think he could be diplomatic. He had to say the way things are, and even though he was successful as a politician, maybe we will let it go.
He was from my constituency.
Oh yeah, how was he?
I think I was pretty satisfied, but yeah, this one thing I do remember, and it's politics after all, and I remember so this Ghazipur thing, landfill.
The landfill.
That was a big issue in the constituency, and that was being spoken about a lot. And the time that he'd imported some sort of machinery, I was there. The media people were requested to cover that, because there was some segregation technology that it had, and it was very, very confident. And I, as a, forget being a journalist, as a citizen, I felt that this is needed. That time and again this is made comparisons with the height of the Statue of Liberty, Statue of Unity, Qutub Minar and all that, and he seemed very determined on just cutting the whole thing out and making a biodiversity park out of it or something like that. But then COVID happened and all of that, and that thing never happened. So I'm saying, from a just citizen point of view, as somebody from that constituency, I wanted to see him deliver, because I'd seen him as a cricketer, and he always gave you vibes of a very determined and a steely cricketer. And he turned out to be one as well. I wanted to see how he delivers for all the talk that he'd done over there. He's sounded for the long part, very committed to it, and he stayed very, insistent on it. But then COVID happened, and then before the elections, this time he chose not to stand as well.
Okay, getting back to the issue at hand, more and more looking certain no Jasprit Bumrah for the second test.
That's a bit of a... It's a bit of a googly, if you ask me.
It's not. See, I tell you, if you see
40 odd overs that he bowled.
No, Shubman, I think there was a situation in a test match, and 80 odd runs were needed, and we thought the game is on. You needed to get Joe Root out, and who knows, and he didn't bowl. So I think his last over was 85 still needed for England to get, and he didn't bowl after that. I agree that if it was the last 15-20 runs, then that was formality, but 85 still to get, you had a chance. Bumrah did not bowl.
But that's more of preservation, no? Then maybe you accepted that with...
No.
And at that time they had 5 wickets.
I'm saying, if you're in with a chance and that's the last throw of your dice, you would have gone to him. My fear was at that time, also looking at it, that is it that fitness issues have started to come up already. The fact that he's gone wicketless as well in that innings, and you stop pulling him at that crucial juncture where that's the last throw of your dice, at least throw it. You get a route out. How do you know where the test match goes? The reason he was probably not bowling is not that it was a miscalculation or that the Indian team had given up, but maybe at that time indications were there that he's not fit enough to carry on, and the workload he's at, maybe that's why he's not playing.
As I said, 43 overs, already 1/4 of what you had done the BGT have bowled in one test already, 24 and 19. So 43
and
overs.
BGT, he didn't play one test match.
The last test match,
So 4 test match.
150 overs.
Second innings only. First innings to be bowled full.
Yeah, but then see, there Australia played and to cook Bumrah according to the situations that's there. But England have already hastened to cooking further. Why? Flat deck. 43 and Edgbaston might
but
be
Australia
the same.
wanted to do the same. Remember, it was said that they wanted to cook Bumrah, which is why they changed the entire roster.
So you're saying this was a
Design.
This was a strategy by England. Give a flat pitch, cook Bumrah at the start so that he's out, and then win it from there.
Otherwise, then why would you want to say, okay, he's not playing 2 out of the 5 tests?
No. I don't think it had to do with Bumrah.
I mean, look, you are also burnt by the fact that you overbowled him in the BGT. And he was out for 6 months.
You didn't overbowl him in the BGT. You overbowled him in those 8 matches that you played. No. He was not supposed to play the number of matches that he played.
Season is saying.
See,
from BGT, before BGT onwards.
He didn't play the final test against New Zealand.
But you remember, because he played the previous 2 against
Bangladesh and 2 against New Zealand.
You were expecting perhaps just 1, and maybe the spinners will do the job. You needed a Jasprit Bumrah because you'd lost Bangalore.
Yeah, but then he didn't bowl much in Pune also. Pune had a very low workload when you look at it. It was only Washington, Ashwin and Jadeja.
Remember when we were looking at those 10 matches in totality, how many were we being optimistic of that Bumrah will play? At best 7.
7, 8.
At best 7. And then he was forced to play an extra match or 2 in that New Zealand series. Now where you thought, okay, just perhaps 1 match. It's a home series, it's done with because you needed Bumrah for Australia.
So that is why, see, in Australia, he and Siraj bowled over 300 overs combined. He and Siraj. You bowled him the most in Melbourne and Brisbane. And you look at Perth also. These 3 venues.
But honestly tell me, 150 odd overs he bowled, right? Divided by 5 matches, that's 30. Innings is 15. That's pretty much fine, right?
So what happened is fine. I want to know now, did you make a mistake by bowling him as much as you did in the test match? Did England make a plan that we'll cook him?
No.
We will finish him?
See, that was the plan.
It was the need.
Why do you think that was the plan? How
because,
can you be sure?
You have already won a match with Jasprit Bumrah.
No. But this pitch, to make a flat pitch so that there is workload on Jasprit Bumrah and he gets to play hardly any test matches, this plan would have been made before the test starts.
It is serving 2 purposes. We knew that the England conditions has changed totally, because if you dish out a green wicket, you are not going to get the baseball approach that is there amongst the batters. The other side benefit is Bumrah will have to toil a bit more harder to get the wickets. Total of 43 overs, he's picked up 5 wickets. Already look at the workload. The maximum that he bowled, if you look at Brisbane, he bowled. Why did he bowl those 6 overs in Brisbane? That was the main point that we're discussing right in the afternoon. Why did he bowl 6 overs? He bowled 1 over. In Perth, 35 overs.
No, that's fine what is done. See, he bowled there, he got injured, done.
Yeah.
We are starting a new series. You had Jasprit Bumrah, you had thought he's going to play 3 test matches. Now it's 1 test match done, he's not playing more. Why has that happened? I want to know. BGT happened, after that he's spent 6 months, he's come here. No, we expected him to play 3. Now you're sitting in a test match where he can't play. What went wrong? Did England plan that we'll have a flat pitch, you will not have him available? Did the Indian captain bowl him more? Was he not fit enough? Is it the end of him as a test match player? I want to know now. What happened in BGT? Done.
See, 3 factors, okay? Flat wickets. You knew that Bumrah would have to shoulder an even heavier workload. Flat wickets. Because England will go gung-ho irrespective of it, okay? Factor number 1 has worked. Factor number 2, England knew that he's not getting support. Where was the support?
No, all this they knew before the series started. I want to know.
I mean, they would have been very much confident about it. See, they already had that same approach in 2022. 2022, they already got a glimpse of what was meant to be. If you put the Indian bowlers under the pump, someone will collapse. And that someone seems to be either Mohammad Siraj or Prasidh or Shardul or anybody else of the bowlers except a Bumrah. You already got a glimpse in 2022.
I have a different take on this. I feel one thing England always knew before the start of the series was Bumrah's not going to be playing all 5. So they knew those 2 matches are obviously going to be, they get a head start automatically if Bumrah's not playing in 2 matches. So they didn't have to, let's say, look at Leeds the way that you're saying, okay, let's flatten it out, let's cook Bumrah even more. I don't know if the expectation was that from 3 matches he plays only 2 matches. What I feel why conditions were very flat in Leeds was because it suited England. and their batting style and the history behind the venue. They had won over there. They were lucky enough to win the toss against New Zealand, and in the Ashes against Australia, they went ahead and chased both.
In fact,
times.
they have never lost ever since the WTC was conceptualized.
They have
in
now
Leeds.
won 6 consecutive times in Leeds, in fact. So they had history, they knew the venue, they had given instructions to the curator to ensure that the pitch allows hitting through the line. So all of that was to bolster their own batting and to suit their own thing, and not perhaps cook Bumrah. And Leeds has been flat for a while now, so there's nothing new per se that happened. For a while now, we've seen Leeds has been one of the flatter grounds.
Because see, what has happened, it served England's purpose also. 43 overs have been bowled by Bumrah. So now his chances of playing the rest of the series is also gone then, in that sense.
So that begs the question. So you have to, I want to focus on why this may have happened. One, theory is that England did it that way. But the larger picture is, did the captain over bowl him? Now there's one way of looking at it, at least how I saw it. And this is something that I shared yesterday. This is just the hypothesis. Maybe we'll try and get some numbers to know. But once you had bowled him over 25 odd overs, close to 25 overs in the first innings, there was a good chance that he will not be as effective in the second. As I mentioned yesterday, that I see him more as a sprinter a sprinter cannot run middle distance, so a sprinter is a fast runner shot. Siraj and Ishant are those guys who can be workhorses. Bumrah is not that. So he can only be used for small spells and limited amount in an inning. So at best, it's, I think you need to treat him like you look at him in a T20 match. You have 4 overs out of 20. Now you can't bowl him more than 4, but you figure out how you need to play him. You would want to bowl 10 overs of Bumrah in 20, but you're not allowed to do it. So you find 4. I bowl him with the new ball here, 1 in the middle, 2 at the death, whichever way, depending on the match situation you change. I think probably with the Jasprit Bumrah going forward, you'll have to have that approach where there has to be a fixed amount of overs that he can bowl, because if you try and milk him a bit more, like if 15 is his kind of limit in an inning, you get him to bowl 25, the effect will be seen not in the second, third, fourth, that it will be, that he will not be available as it is, but even in the second innings, that he will not be as effective as we've seen right now. So maybe a new system will have to be devised where I would want to, as a captain, want to bowl Bumrah, but I only have about 15. Now figure out how you want to go about it, looking at the match situation. That's one way of looking at it. And if you want Bumrah, maybe that's the future. But the second bit is, I also empathize with the captain. When you're in a situation where the opposition is piling up 400, what do you do? Nobody else is being effective. So what do you do? And that then puts bigger question marks over whether then do you have a long-term future with Jasprit Bumrah in Test match cricket? And I think this is a serious question that will have to be looked at. I know that nobody can be as effective as him. But then the question comes, when you speak about, let's say, a big enough player, let's say in football you say, should you play him? But he's 80% fit. And sometimes you say, 80% this player fit is good enough than 100%, and I'll play him. So either you have this opportunity that he'll only give you 15 overs. And if you think, okay, 15 overs of him is better than 30 over of anybody else, so I'll play him. Or you have to say that no, instead of him, then I might as well start looking at another fast bowler who may not be as effective, but probably will give me 25 overs if need be. And that's the need. And I can only fill in those many slots, then I go with it. And that is the big question that will be, Indian cricket will have to answer, not just now, but in the long term. But that takes me to a short-term question. What happens to the Indian team now? If Jasprit Bumrah is not playing the second Test match, you're already 1-0 down.
And Jofra's playing.
I'll get to Jofra later. First I'm just dealing with the loss. What happens to the Indian team now?
8-letter word, disaster. You're staring at a disaster.
Yeah, but see, not like from 3, it's gone to 2. Just that the order we had in mind is changing.
But now do you think 3 will be possible? Because
he can play 3-4 and he won't play 5.
No, or 3-5.
3-5, yeah.
So 3-4 there's a gap. 4-5 there's no gap.
You're still hopeful that those 3 Test matches will happen?
For Bumrah, yeah.
See, if he doesn't play the second match, okay. Many teams, if you lose it, many teams haven't come back from 2-0 down to win the series. You still have a series win at stake. Even now, you haven't given up. You shouldn't give up now because you still have 4 tests, anything can happen in that. You got an 8-day gap. Unless your wall of opacity theory comes in, the Indian cricket team management doesn't want to reveal that he's injured. what was the main thing? What was the main? I again go back to BGT Sydney. Back spasm. But a back spasm can't keep you out for 6 months. I'm sorry. It doesn't happen. They were hiding what was the injury nature with Jasprit Bumrah. So what happened? The Indian team will never say that, okay, maybe he's injured. Looking at the way how he bowled in the second innings, was he already jaded? And okay, is he starting to get that stiffness in that back region? You're risking him. If that is the case, then don't play him at all.
No, I think if he's being rested for the second test is because you want him to play those 2 more tests. That is reason, in fact, that you're resting him out right now so that you can play 3 and 5 with him.
Are you looking at winning the series or just preserving Bumrah for later series? Then that means if you're just cherry picking, okay, he may play 3, he may play 4, he may play 5. You don't have the series in mind. You have only Bumrah's availability long term in mind.
In a haste to play him, in an eagerness to play him the second test, and probably not have him for the rest of the series, do I rather have him play test match number 3, which is good 15 days away from now, and then have him play towards the end of July. July 31st is when the last test match starts. Probably have him there. And do I stand a better chance of winning match number 3 and match number 5 with a Bumrah or sans Bumrah? I think you know the answer.
I know that, but then see, England have already won a game with Bumrah.
Yeah.
You don't play him for 2.
So that's what I'm saying. You do everything to ensure that I get him for 2 more tests.
But then, is it worth playing him? Suppose if you don't play him in the second test, you're 2-0 down. Then is it worth him playing 2 more tests?
He can win you a match single-handedly, as you know.
He can, but then you're not going to win the series. Your best chance of staying alive in the series is test match number 2.
No, you don't get everything, nah. See, you either put your best foot forward with a Bumrah, or in trying to win the war, you lose the little battles and eventually you will lose the war as well. But
see, I don't want to sound negative, but if he's not playing the second test match, and I agree with you that it doesn't matter second, third or whatever. I know it's a crucial juncture. If you have any chance of making a comeback, you would need him in the second test match. You can't be 2-0 down and then hope to turn it around. So there is context to this match, I agree. But if let's say if he's not fit enough, as we saw in the second innings, then obviously you can't force it down his throat and get him to play. You don't want him out injured for a long time. So fine, he plays, the third test match or the 5th test match, whichever way you look at it. But I am not too sure now, looking at, see, if his body is not being able to take 1 test match, then I'm not really sure he will last even 3 test matches. It will then, because it's not about giving the body the break that will really help him. It's the workload that has happened in 1 test match itself, which has given him already a situation, or the Indian team a situation where they have to look at a test match without Bumrah. Then that doesn't give me hope that he can be fine for 3rd, and even if he plays 3rd, he'll be fine for 5th. Because if he plays a 3rd test match and they again come up with a flat track, as you expect in this series for more often than not, then how is it that he will be fit enough and fresh enough to deliver in 5th? All I'm saying is that it's not looking like an ideal scenario. It's not looking good for India. And overall, it is going to be in the interest of the Indian team, Indian fans and everyone, that we start preparing ourselves for test matches without Jasprit Bumrah. In the long term and in the short term also, 2 test matches.
Going by that, and if this is to be the way that we all fear, that it may just turn out to be, given the little indicators that we've managed to see right now, then if Jasprit Bumrah out of a big 5-match series playing only 2, then I think there is a bigger problem where you need to start preparing for perhaps life without Bumrah in Test cricket.
Yes.
That's what and this whole WTC
you may
cycle.
Have to. And your best example is someone like a Jofra Archer, who I think was as potent in his time as a bowler. But now you've reached a scenario where he barely turns up for the English team.
Yeah, because I doubt you're going to be one of those sides, let's say in England, that okay, 1 or 2 matches he comes and plays here and there is fine by us, because we are firm believers in the word process, right? And there's so much in the pipeline. You want to ensure that all of that is taken care of. Other players get a chance. Then maybe the best approach will be, since you took that call on captaincy as well, right? That since Bumrah is not going to be there, he's not going to be captain, since he's not always going to be around. Then maybe you have to be forced to look into a direction where you preserve Jasprit Bumrah only for T20 cricket and ODI cricket for that matter. where these competitions are going to be given much more importance, and Bumrah, because he can give you his 10 overs, quota of 10 overs, he can give you a quota of 4 overs, and then you will be forced to go in a direction where, okay, there's a Champions Trophy this year, let me prepare for that. There's a T20 World Cup, there's a ODI World Cup, so Bumrah, I need you here, but Test cricket, we need other people.
Yeah, I think that, and see, with Bumrah, white ball cricket is also important for you. I mean, IPL, his franchise would want him, he would want to play, and you can't deny him that. There'll be white ball tournaments, T20 World Cup, a 50 over World Cup. You will need him for that as well. And as he's shown, he's as potent, if not more so, in white ball in helping you win trophy than he is. So, but you will have to then find a way. Like, for example, I mean, the silver lining is that you did win the Champions Trophy without a Jasprit Bumrah. So that there is a silver lining there, that maybe you do have fast bowling stock. Maybe in Test cricket it looks a bare cupboard at the moment. But if you have a bare cupboard, and just like a lot of other teams have found ways to deal with it, England, as I said, is a perfect example. Maybe we'll have to, look at a scenario where then maybe he makes himself available only for important series. But then the question is, this is the important series,
yeah.
But he can't play 5 Test matches.
That's the problem.
It is what it is. And it's, quite honestly, if it does go down this route, it should not really shock you, because ever since he started playing, most people had said that his career will be filled with injuries. It's like that, it's the same thing that gives him the power is also his kryptonite. It is his awkward action and that hyperextension and all of that that gives him that advantage. But it is also proving to be.
And see, he's not getting
his
younger.
kryptonite.
Okay, he's already 31, Jasprit Bumrah. And over age, you've seen pacers. I mean, if you look at the history of Indian pace bowling, Zach and Ishant, they had to cut down on pace and rely more on swing. And that happened post 30. Zach had a late resurgence, but then you saw when he was playing in 2014, his pace was 125-ish, 130-ish. So, Bumrah, if he cuts down on pace, will his swing be effective? Because I think it's this extra pace that helps him.
Yeah, it's
and his accuracy.
It's the angle, it's the movement of the pitch, late movement, all of that. It's many things.
He's not getting younger, and injuries are also piling up for that action of his. So, yeah. If he doesn't play the second test, then, and if England go on to win that, there's no point of him playing even the next 2 tests also, because you don't want to risk him even further with a T20 World Cup coming up, with a ODI World Cup coming up.
That is next year, no?
And the fact that a Jofra Archer is included in the squad, is he going to be that effective?
See, I will reserve my comment on Jofra Archer because he's making a red ball comeback after 4 years and 4 months. Last he played was February 2021. And we know the string of elbow injuries, the stress fractures he's had. It's been 4 or 5 of them. He's changed his action also slightly. Slight change in action.
The speed hasn't dropped that much. We saw he was decent with his speed in the IPL.
Yeah, but white ball, you can have that burst. With red ball over a sustained period, can he repeat 2019 Ashes? That was
no. So I'm not expecting that, but I think Jofra Archer is Jofra Archer. First thing is just the fact having Jofra Archer in your team makes a huge difference, just as for India when you have Jasprit Bumrah. Secondly, I mean, the bowling attack that England have, I'll take Jofra Archer over any of them any day. Eyes closed, right, between a Vokes, Tongue and a Bryden Castle. I'll take him. He, just the bowler that he is. And even if he doesn't give me consistent performances, I'm not even expecting the 2019 sort of a level. But I'm saying with him, you never know that it's that one ball, awkward bounce that he'll get, or that one that nips. And he showed it in the IPL, where sometimes a bowler can be dealt with because the ball doesn't do much, flatter pitch, and you can go for it. Some sort of assistance, red ball, Dukes, which does. With his pace, awkward bounce, he's going to be, if nothing, like he can go on for 2 overs looking innocuous, and all it takes is one delivery that he'll really put an effort in that can rattle a batter. He has that effect. So it will make an impact.
Few of his videos, he looks a bit streaky. Didn't seem to have all that control, but he's still got another week, 1 full week to gather all of that.
Exactly. But then see, somewhere down the line, Graham Swan's thing, warm up for the Ashes, seems to be coming true in a very odd manifesting way. Because see, in Australian conditions, if Wood and Archer are firing on full tilt.
Wood is right now busy with Sky, na?
But he will be back for the 5th test.
5th test.
Warm up, if there also it's done.
It'll truly be a warm up for him.
Yeah. I mean, see, you need express pacers in Australia.
Yeah.
To trouble the Aussie batters there. So Ashes is the aim. The only way England can reach the WTC final is if they win both those series. If they win that, then they are playing the WTC final in 2027 also. Yeah. So that is why Archer coming back, I am not going to have too much of expectations because his pace would have dropped. 5 elbow surgeries later, it can't match up to the 95, 96 miles that he was delivering in Lord's 2019. But he can do the job. I think he will want to dry up the flow of runs and not concede that much because see, the main aim is others take wickets, someone dries the flow of runs up. Maybe he could be used as that enforcer also in that sense. So, yep. Jofra Archer coming back, I don't think it's a good move, but I think it won't ensure England run through opponents just like that. But India's tail is
because of the unknown factor around him, right?
Around his fitness. I don't know how it will be at this point. But if our Indian tail is so giving, then even a Jofra Archer can run through them. 6 for 30, 5 for 10. Anything can happen. Our Indian tail, lower order, is currently the worst in the business at this point in time.
What's more generous, Maharaja Dashrath or Indian tail?
Indian tail. On a flat deck, how could you lose combined 13 for 72? Combined. That was the main problem. 13 for 72 in addition to 165 runs that Jaiswal, Maharaja Dashrath or Yashasvi Jaiswal.
By the way, were you finishing Shivan's homework?
Yeah, I had some homework to do. Sorry, I'm doing my data for Jasprit Bumrah now. So I'm going to go. I've called a statistician to help me out with that, and then I'll come with that data, my hypothesis I want to.
First is Rahul Dravid, second Sai Sudarshan, now you.
Acha, Rahul Dravid, Sai Sudarshan, now me.
Even Jonathan
I like
Trott.
making notes.
Yeah, even Jonathan Trott, remember, World Cup 2023.
A full blackboard.
Yeah. 50 overs this should be. Yes.
So I'll meet my statistician and come.
Oh, you have a whole band of statisticians.
Yes, you guys carry on.
Of course, we will carry on in that sense. So, let's take some comments. There's a Shubham Garg saying, Nick sir, the pride Gautam Gambhir carries, do you think he will leave all format coach job if BCCI takes away red ball coaching from him? Like VK did with captaincy? No, not really. See, will the BCCI take away red ball coaching? But what is the backup? Who are the backup options for Gautam Gambhir? If he is taken away from coaching.
Number one is VVS Lakshman. He was, remember, rumored to be there. He didn't necessarily spend time with the Indian team, but
he stepped up whenever Rahul Dravid was on vacation.
He's always filled in, as we know, right now as well. Coincidence or not, whatever, from Lausanne, he ended up going to London. He met with the Indian team over there, and he's been a part of the system. He's been the caretaker of Indian cricket at the NCA. He knows the youngsters very well. So the next one to step in, if at all you move in that direction,
or a Dada,
has to be, but a Lakshman ahead of a Dada. Dada was a couple of years back. He was looking, and he was an administrator. You're not looking at an administrator, you're looking at a coach. And the most hands-on guy in Indian cricket has been VVS Lakshman.
Yes, it has been. And Danush is saying, India never won Edgbaston in 8 tests, lost 7 and 1 draw. Closest to winning was 2018, but Sam Curran destroyed India that series and losing streak to continue. Yes, Sam Curran with those crucial knocks. And yet again, where did I say? Not able to finish the tail off. It was established in Edgbaston and Southampton. Even there, Southampton, he ensured that India got a target of close to 250. And we are bundled out there also.
Yeah. Ishmeet says Boom is equal to Mayank Yadav.
Too late.
Too soon to compare, but I think you're comparing the
injuries.
The fact that both of them are fragile, fast bowlers.
Yeah, that is true. But then Mayank Yadav is an interesting case because see, he again got injured in the IPL. He played a couple of games, but then he got injured in that sense. So yes, it is not going to be easy at all. Ruchir is like saying, the fact is we were over-dependent on Bumrah. He has a better average in Sena than the great West Indies quartet of bowlers, unfair on Bumrah.
But his fitness is what it is. Yeah, I don't know what unfair component you're talking about over there, Ruchir.
Yep.
Maybe you can tell us more about it. But I don't sort of get that. It is what it is. What do you do?
What do you do
And his
with this?
numbers, yes, so in so many counts, yeah, Jasprit Bumrah is just in a league of his own. So it doesn't surprise
Sena
me
countries,
that
he's
he
the
was
best.
better than the fabled West Indies quartet also. On that note, Slave of Freedom's interesting name says Bumrah is only 31 years old man.
But even for a fast bowler, 31, 32, it's
with that action,
with that kind of action and his
you know,
injury
it's-
history.
It's like consuming that drug that saves your life and takes it away as well.
Yeah. And he's got another thing. Bring Hardik back. If he can play one day, then test as well. No. He's not played for 6 years. How can you get somebody who's not played for 6 years back? He knows his body limitations. He just can't play.
Last was South Africa.
I think it was Sri Lanka, right? Sri Lanka series
Sena,
of 20...
Sena.
yeah, South Africa. South Africa 2018. Was it? We'll have to check that out. Yep. So, in that sense, it's going to be really, really a big problem. That's what... Hardik won't come. Hardik is not coming back. He has said bye-bye to Test cricket in more ways than one.
He may just pick up the red ball here and there to train at times and give us some hope, but it's not resulted in anything. Actually, he says Bumrah should only play IPL as he never gets injured in the event. Jimmy Anderson, what did he say?
I mean, Jimmy Anderson, SAS and his career was curtailed. SAS? Who is that? I really don't know. SAS and his career was curtailed. I can't make that. But then see, Bumrah also missed 5-6 games in the IPL at the very beginning of 2025 because he was injured and he was recovering from that. So it's not as if he doesn't get injured. He does get injured at this point. Syed Nizamuddin is saying, no Karun Nair in the second test match. That's going to be...
Where are you getting that from, Syed? I don't know.
We
don't know of that yet.
Yeah. See, as far as the batting is concerned, your tail is a concern. But then, see, having a tail contribute is very, very novel. If a tail contributes, it's a bonus. That's the problem. If you don't contribute, you have to be prepared for that. When does a tail ender know how to bat? That's why they are a tail ender in that sense. So, in that sense, Amalan Mukherjee is like saying, this is awful. One bowler that seemed to be of some out-of-world quality cannot sustain 2 tests, whereas we see English, Australian, SA, New Zealand players sustain for 15-20 years of test cricket. But I don't think everybody has that kind of an action here, what Jasprit Bumrah has. Hazelwood, pure, classical, wonderful to watch action.
Yeah.
Cummins also, complete action. Stark also doesn't have very awkward action.
No, there's nothing awkward about Stark.
Saudi, Bolt, Wagner, all were proper pace bowlers with hardly any kind of weird action in that sense. South Africa also, Janssen, Rabada, Ngidi. No. Steyn, I felt the way... Dale Steyn, I felt the way he would celebrate with this. I thought one day his shoulder and his elbow will get dislocated.
That was iconic, yeah. The only one who came close to that celebration was Brett Lee.
The chainsaw, yes. But even Brett Lee, towards the fag end of his career, so many injuries. Foot injury, side strain, rib injury, shoulder injury, elbow injury.
Or we're forgetting that Pakistan chap, na?
Hassan Ali.
Hassan Ali
was hardly pace.
The one who injured himself.
He's hardly any pace.
But he's not
Hassan
pace.
Ali. He isn't.
He matches for celebration, but not for bowling and everything.
Same. I mean, if you want to look at express pace bowlers from Pakistan, maybe an Amir Jamal at this point. Perhaps.
Muhammad Amir. Abbas is that quick.
No. Muhammad Abbas is 125.
Shaheen
military medium.
at one point, but he's
gone.
His knee is dodgy.
Naseem Shah.
Naseem's good, yeah.
135, 140.
RS is also...
RS Roff only for white ball. Haris Rauf is a spent force. He's no
he's
longer
done
the
for
same.
now,
Adi Sekar is like saying, it's good Bumrah not playing. Now they will give flat tracks and we can play Kuldeep. Yeah, I think Kuldeep will have to come in now. That's the only hope that you got who can extract something from a flat wicket. Yes, he may go for runs, but he'll also take wickets also in that sense. Dev Pratap Singh Chauhan is saying, Nikhil, India has to come out of Bumrah obsession. Such teams don't win same as Sachin in 90s or Virat in 2014 or 2016 World Cup. Win or loss depends on collective performances. Indeed. Indeed, it does. You won ICC events primarily out of a team effort, not a single individual effort. 24 was a team effort. 25 was a team effort.
You showed it can be done.
It can
Just
be done.
that, he's such a game changer, and see, it's always just going to be a huge boon to have a Jasprit Bumrah. We call him the cheat code over here for a reason, and it's going to be sad that player so special has spent so much time on the bench, just healing and nursing injuries.
His case reminds me of Jeff Thompson. Thompson, slingy action, man, he would nail a vicious Yorker and a bouncer. Yeah. Because his action never supported his bowling. He had, I think, mostly about 40-50 test matches. That's it. But Tomo had a freak collision. And that is why I think his shoulder dislocation ensured he was never the same again. Bumrah, not such any freak action, but his action is like...
Yeah. Tomo was more the shoulder, I believe.
Shoulder,
right?
I mean,
it
would be like a javelin, loading up and then behind it.
Exactly. He'll be stuck over here and then he'll just lash it.
Tate tried, that's Sean Tate. But Sean Tate only 2 tests, 3-4 tests, that's it in that way. Last question we will take. Archer's inclusion strengthens England's bowling lineup, but in Edgbaston, he's not a big threat, I believe, considering the condition. Also, he never played at Edgbaston, but at Lord's he's a threat. Freaking awesome is saying. See, I know that Lord's is a threat because of that slope. The slope that is there, it can get movement also from the deck.
But remember, I think that battle was fought in Edgbaston only. Which one?
Smith, Archer, Lord's.
Lord's, was it?
Lord's.
But Smith played his first match after the ban, I think, at Edgbaston.
No, he played at Old Trafford.
Are you sure?
No, you're talking about the ban.
After the ban, then
he played at Edgbaston.
When he got those twin tons, was Edgbaston only.
Yes, Edgbaston.
Archer was playing that match.
No, I think he was brought back for Lord's. He didn't play Edgbaston, if I'm not... he came in as the concussion substitute, Manas Labuschagne. Yes. He had already made his debut in 2018. Ashes debut, yes. He became the first individual to play as a concussion substitute. Manas Labuschagne in that. So, yes. Archer didn't play. Yeah, you're right. I think he didn't play in Edgbaston. So, at Lord's, he'll be a threat because of the slope. But if he plays there, let's see how it goes.
What if slope makes catching difficult again?
Last comment from my side. I want Arshdeep Singh.
Shivam says that he wants to see Arshdeep Singh play for India in Birmingham. You let us know your thoughts in the comment section.
Yeah.
At some point, we all said that Jasprit Bumrah has to be involved, and maybe this is the time then. If Jasprit Bumrah will not be playing, then perhaps that should open up the path for an Arshdeep Singh who's played county, who's shown us that he can swing the white ball, and it'll be interesting what he can do with the red cherry in his hand.
Let's hope so. So, yeah, we are building up to the start of the Birmingham test match. It will happen exactly in a week's time from now. 6 days to go for the test match.
Yeah.
Let's see how can India make it 1-1, or will Bumrah play, not play. We are building up for that. So, thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this dugout from me, Nikhil and Harshit. It is... Yeah. So, if you like this new setup that we have got, you can tell us in the comments.
We moved to 3 couches.
Yeah, from 2 we have moved to 3. Yes.
From no couch to 2 couch to 3 couch.
Yes. So
give us a like. Shivam says give us a like if you like this setup, as you try and innovate ourselves as well. We speak of the Indian team, bowlers, batters, they have to innovate with changing time.
We are also innovating.
We try to do much the same here at Sports Today. So yeah, thank you guys as always for your time, and we'll catch you tomorrow same time, and take good care.
Oh yes,
yeah.
We are having a big interview, a very special interview that we have lined up. It's like a special vodcast that we have done with one of Yeah, it's not a pod, it's a VOD.
It's
a special vodcast that me and Harshit have done on a very special India player.
Special India player.
India domestic player.
Oh, we can reveal his identity.
Yes, we have done a special interview with Priyank Panchal.
So many things that we learnt about him.
Yes.
And it was interesting getting to see him in person, speak with him in this very studio, and get to know more about Indian cricket, his journey, and what's it that that he sees in this young Indian team, and he gives a very interesting take on baseball, and why when you see aggressive shots on the field from a Yashasvi or a Pant, he says there's reason for those shots as well, and these are all very skilled people. I won't reveal the entirety of it right now, so check that out. That'll be out shortly.
It'll happen tomorrow morning. It will premiere tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, Shivam says.
Or in the dugout, yeah. We are just doing some fine tuning in that. So by evening tomorrow, you should see the entire Priyank Panchal special that me and Harshit have done. So do check that out as well. So bye-bye, Nandri, Vanakkam, Shubhratri, Shabba Khair. More videos coming your way from Sports Today.
Subscribe.
Bye-bye. Yeah.